Amanda Berman joining the conversation right now. She's a civil rights attorney and also the founder and executive director of the Zioness Movement, which is a coalition of Jewish activists and allies. They say they're both Zionist and progressive, so that gives you an idea of where Amanda is coming from. Big picture, but we're more curious about where you're coming from on this particular story. What do you make of what's going on, especially at Columbia?
You know, it's heartbreaking. American academic institutions are supposed to be best in class, best in the world. People from all over the world want to come here to learn. And unfortunately, that's not what's happening at Columbia. It's not what's happening on a lot of campuses since October 7th, though, unfortunately, this is a problem that predates October 7th and, of course, has metastasized. It's heartbreaking. Is
there something more the administration can do? It was interesting, Rich's conversation with the NYPD official there. So, you know, which is true, it's a private institution. They have to wait to be called in. Last week they were. 100+ arrests were made. Is there anything else these institutions, whether it's Yale or Columbia or other schools, should be doing that they're not doing now, in your view?
Absolutely. I mean, these universities have policies, codes of conduct, time, place, and manner regulations. And as the police officer said, it's a private institution. So the administration at Columbia has clearly made the choice who they want to allow on campus and who they don't. They called in the police last week. They've not called in the police since. They revoked earlier today the badge for an Israeli professor who's been outspoken about what's going on. They've not revoked the ability of these people to completely take over this campus, shut down classes, you know, force all of the classes to happen on Zoom. So this administration is really just totally degrading this institution and really setting a precedent that I think is gonna set off these kinds of, you know, escalating protests and events, shutting down campuses around the country. And they shame.
A couple of Republicans today in Washington getting involved, calling for separate actions to be taken. Let me ask you about both. One senator, Josh Hawley, who says President Biden should call in the National Guard. This is the tweet from Hawley. Eisenhower sent the 101st to Little Rock. It's time for Biden to call out the Guard at our universities to protect Jewish Americans. What do you say to that?
You know, I don't know exactly what the right moment is to call in the National Guard. I also was thinking about Little Rock and, you know, the work that has had to be done over many decades in this country to ensure that everyone has equal access, equal opportunity to education, and that should be a right. Of course, Columbia is a private university, and you know, and there's so much more that they could be doing. And what I would like to see before the National Guard gets there or is called there is for the administration to take charge, to actually say, we support free speech rights, even though we're a private institution and we don't have exactly the same constitutional obligations. And we understand that academia is a place for counterculture, for protest. We support the right to protest. We do not support incitement to violence or imminent lawlessness. We do not support harassment and physical intimidation of Jewish students. We do not support material support for terrorism. So there is so much more that the university could be doing, and I hope that they will. I hope it's not necessary to call the National.
We played the video last week. People, we are Hamas. We are all Hamas. So we saw people. There was video over the weekend yelling at Jewish students things like "Go back to Poland" was one of the quotes that was posted. You probably saw that video. So you say take charge. Others say there should be changes. Congresswoman Elise Stefanik today calling on the president of the university to resign. She says while Columbia's failed leadership spent hundreds of hours preparing for this week's congressional hearing, clearly was an attempt to cover up their abject failure to enforce their own campus rules and protect Jewish students on campus, then goes on to say the president should resign. What about that? Would that be too much? Not necessary yet, or?
I think it's pretty clear that this president is not able to assume this responsibility. She either perjured herself before Congress or she has absolutely no idea what's going on her campus. She was, some of the things that she said were flatly rejected by other leaders, you know, of Columbia, even in that testimony. So, you know, I think it needs to be made clear by her and by all of the leadership of Columbia that these are not anti-war protests. They are pro-Hamas protests. And also they're not pro-Palestinian. This is not about advancing Palestinian rights, human dignity, civil society, or infrastructure. It's about destroying Israel, and it's about attacking Jews on campus because of their Zionism, because of their support for Israel. She needs to get this right, or else she's going to have to go.
Well, thanks so much for watching. Just go to joinnn.com to find NewsNation on your television provider. And don't forget to click the red subscribe button below to get more of NewsNation's fact-driven, unbiased coverage.